My name is Catherine Fink. I'm a local artist here in Grand Forks. I moved back here in 2012 and have been involved with a lot of social engagement, and we used to actually, Adam and Matthew Borgeson, wherever he is, I used to actually have a gallery here in town called Blue Door, gallery down the street. And we were lucky enough to have Darren Drummer here offer us a space to continue a art gallery, but also we're kind of trying to evolve it. It's not actually Blue Door, it will be a new entity, basically called the Guild. Hold on here really quick, I'm sorry, I have so many pieces of paper. I'm just going to kind of read you a little bit about the Guild, just plug it away, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about what we're talking about today. The Guild is an artist-led resource center for the arts, as well as an affordable event space which caters to art exhibits, events, fundraisers, legal and financial guidance, meetings, opportunities, public and private panels, and workshops. We also have 3 office/studio spaces available to rent under the Guild, which with access to resources and professional development programs. So a couple of the programs that we're implementing here are grant writing assistance and searches, aiding in professional documents and curation, event planning and marketing, as well as an on-call professional to meet any other needs that you are seeking. We also will help artists mediate their sales and their services. So basically, if an artist feels like they need a little bit more professional help or guidance into making a sale, they're not being undercut, and they're not making decisions without some sort of entity helping them out with that. The Guild will also function as a portfolio archive for patrons and businesses to find artists to hire. So basically, if a business in town is looking for a graphic designer or a painter to make a mural, we can help them with that. We have an archive of artists. We can actually let them look at the archive, and then they from there can choose, and we'll kind of help them guide them into what they're looking for. Our purposes are not only to educate artists, we are also here to educate the Grand Forks and the surrounding communities to raise the standards and the value of arts. We are already marking up our calendars, so if anybody has any conceptual or unique ideas, please talk to me after the panel. So basically how this panel is going to be constructed is I'm going to kind of have a conversation with them, and then afterwards we'll open it up to the floor. We do have a couple people that have some relevant news that they want to include after this, so I'll kind of open it up to them first. So first, let me start with my thank yous. Thank you, Darren Drummer, Adam Kemp, Mary Weaver, Eric Eskerman, oh my god, I'm really Eskerman, okay. Anthony Krisman, Katie Rader, David Ledzik, probably ruining that too. Jamie Manstrom, Matt Shearing, Scott Anderson, Marissa Methalik, yeah, okay, got it. Kim and Sue Fink, Deborah Kay, Sarah Horak, Darren Stork, Matthew Borgeson, Nancy Kurzman, the attendees to the artist meeting, Rochelle Alexander, Ron Franz, and Nico Thompson for coming out tonight. And then everyone else who made this conversation possible. So this actually didn't start without artists coming to me, knowing that I had some similar concerns about artists getting paid in our community for our work and looking at us as professionals, as equal professionals. And then, of course, I want to thank the panelists. Again, some of you will be repeated: Darren Drummer, Lindsay Brown, Adam Kemp, and Jared Flaidland. So, I kind of covered the bases here. My first question for everybody is, tell us a little bit about yourself and your line of work.
Hi, I'm Jared Flaidland. I founded Conduit Theater at the beginning of this year. I am a theater artist, a clown, and a poet. And I'm originally from this area. Moved to Los Angeles 3 years ago. Did some stuff up and down the West Coast for a while. In the beginning of this year, I moved back. Looked at Grand Forks and thought, you know what? What I've been doing out there, I want to bring to Grand Forks. So for the last year, I've been dedicating myself to that. And as well as just sort of general arts advocacy, I guess. So, thank you.
I'm Lindsay Bramall. I'm an assistant professor over at the university teaching graphic and web design. And I have a couple students here, but I also have my own business, Ladybird. We do graphic and web design. And I'm from the area, but as well, California. Went there for a while, so about it.
My name is Darren Dromer, and I'm a local artist, body artist. I also paint and do murals, and I've been born and raised, and I love this area, and I've been downtown for 3 years now, and I love it down here, and I think it feels like home, and want to perpetuate that as long as possible.
That's good. I'll see if I can argue that.
Okay.
I came in 1987, and I've been making work and trying to sell work ever since. And I think, yes, and yes, indeed, I'm your father. And I've been downtown, I think, since 1988. So, yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I've been involved with various galleries. Oh, and you. And teaching you, yes, Hannah, that's her. She's my prompt behind there. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I'll kind of start out with something a little light. Hopefully, and you can come back to anything. First, I want to tell everybody how this is going to kind of work. I'm going to ask a question. Not everybody has to answer it if they don't feel like it. Hopefully, they can piggyback off of one another, and then from there, kind of guide your own conversation, and I'll bring it back to the next question. So the next question is, what do you feel like your role is in the community?
I thought this was light.
These are light questions.
I'll start. Do you want me to start?
Oh, go for it. Let it rip.
Yeah, I got one. I feel like I would like to start a design community that does nice design. I think there's a lot of design out there where not a lot of educated people are working on the design, and I think we need to find a way to have a community that can talk about design and maybe even educate design in there. So I feel like I would hope that I could help out and be part of that and be kind of the design person that comes and see about creating better design.
I would say as a theater artist, with the imagery of conduit theater, my goal is to connect people, whether that is through a theatrical piece that you come, and whether it connects you simply like to your emotional life, or if I put together a theatrical event that connects people together. I've done some events here that, as much as what I put on stage is as important, the other important thing is the relationship to the audience members to each other. So I invite audience members to stay after things I put on and watch people make new friendships, make new connections, network essentially. And I think whether it is connecting individuals within a community or connecting individuals outside the community, whatever that is, my biggest concern is just always how do I look around and what can I do to help connect the right people together to help stimulate a community that is both exciting and is a fun place for everyone to live.
Cool, blimey.
Sorry.
Do either of you guys want to add anything to that?
Gimme.
I don't know, but first of all, I have to say, I'm sick of the word community.
Oh, all these questions are riddled with that word.
I know. I'm ready. Oh, God. What's your role? For me, it's every time I see a piece of manufactured work that's not made by somebody in this town, or somebody I know, or somebody I do business with, I want to destroy it and replace it with one of my own. My role in the community is to remind the town I live in, or the city, of the resources you have and the creativity that's inherent in all of us, and to keep it fun. I mean, thank you, Hannah. One part of what you deal with is you deal with many different ways of people saying no to creating or to producing something. As tough as life is for some people, we still have the ability to do things here, and we have to get out of our own way. And you can do that with art easier than with some other stuff. And that's kind of my role, I think. There are times when I don't care, and I really don't. And I bristle at the idea of being part of a community. Excuse me.
I think you wear several hats as an artist. You wear the hat of the business person who needs to make commission work, to pay the bills, or to sustain a living, and then at the same time, you want to be this representation to the community. But I think there's tension there, and that might come with people being able to support artists financially adequately. So I think the roles change a lot.
In response to that, I'm expected to support just about everybody I know financially. And yet when I turn around and say, wait a minute, why didn't you put me on your wedding list, funeral list, dead pet list, or whatever, people look at you as if you're somehow clinically insane. And you might well be, but what I feel my role is to remind people that it's you have to show people how you want to do business as an artist. And I think sometimes I get it right. I've gotten it wrong a lot too as well.
I think the way you stated our local art as a resource, I think is a very apt term to use too, because if we can market it more as this is a precious commodity versus outsourcing that to other people. But yet, how can we invite other artists
To one, and then protect, so if what you're really looking to do, I mean, I guess the only answer I have for you there is you have to look around at how other artists do it successfully and take the good from what they do and throw away the bad, obviously. And that's the tricky bit.
Or also, and I think, sorry to interject, I wanted to do this very little, but I think that we are in a period of time in our community where it's very crucial that artists have a voice at the table.
Right.
And, because there's all of these art advocacy groups which have very few artists on their boards. And so how would we present ourselves professionally to these groups, or how would we get them to take us more, as more professional, as a professional or professionals?
You demand, you turn up. If a committee if it has the name public on it, that's exactly what it means. You demand to be part of it. I'm ancient, so my time to be involved with that stuff is coming to an end. As a younger artist, I more than once walked into a meeting and said, why the hell am I here? Why wasn't I included? I didn't make many friends doing it that way. I probably should have been more subtle. But if you think you're going to be taken seriously by a business structure that hasn't taken you seriously so far without taking it on their terms, you're going to have a rough time. And the way to do that is to maybe, in the old days, you put a resume or portfolio together. I mean, that actually, to a certain extent now, can be complemented by a social network presence. But if you want in for better representation, you have to go to meetings like this and decide what you really want to say. And then you have to go to meetings that nobody wants to go to. I mean, there's not one person that really wants to go to a city hall meeting, but you do have to start sitting in on those things and playing a role.
But you're also, starting this is going to help, and if all the artists can come in as a community, as a group, I don't know you get that word, but if we all can come in together and create artists and have artists that be a part of this that are good and respectful, maybe not always respectful, but ones that are good and that will always have some sort of professionalism, and we can continue a group, I think we'll get to be well known eventually.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, the business of art actually doesn't have very much to do with art itself. It's about where you want to be within that structure. And that's tricky. I mean, that's not for everybody. I don't think it is. But if you want Yeah, so, you know, if there's a meeting coming up, and there's several coming up, and they're discussing the future of public arts in Grand Forks, those meetings are technically open, so you need to go. You don't really need, I'll give you permission right now, as a senior artist in the region, I've given you permission to go to every single public meeting. You're all very excited by that, and I'm amazed that you all put your hands up to volunteer. This is fantastic.
Do you find yourself though, ever not being taken seriously for your labor or business? Do you think like
Yeah.
the disconnect between arts and like any other profession? And this is open to all of you.
There's been a number of times having conversations with people in the community that, oh, but all you artists are crazy. And someone says that to my face, and it's like, but I'm one of those people you just called crazy. And, you know, it's part of it though is like a two-way street of education. Like, there has to be, like Adam was saying, some level of like, well, how do we need to conduct ourselves? What do we have to do to be taken seriously? Like, you know, there are steps like going to public commission meetings or city council meetings. The beautiful thing about this town is though, it is the right size to still have a very strong voice.
Yeah.
And that's why I stayed here this year as opposed to coming back, doing whatever I need to do and then getting out. It's like, oh, this is a place that I can make my home base.
I'm sorry, I know you just came back just recently, but like,
Yeah.
maybe this is from maybe I should be a panelist, or on your side, but my feeling was I came back here in 2012 and it felt like, you know, I could really move forward.
Yeah.
And I was getting a lot of like, you know, media coverage because I was eager and it's working hard. But at a certain point, I kind of hit a brick wall, maybe financially. And then at one certain point, it was more about like, well, we'll do this for your exposure. But at that point, I already had exposure. So like, how would you respond to that? I mean, are you feeling that way, or all of you feeling that way, or is there something specific to like something that you have been able, some sort of bridge you've been able to cross that has gone over that obstacle?
For myself, and I agree with you very much. When I came back, you know, my experience, especially of downtown, for the most part, was pre-flood and directly after the flood. And coming back after being gone for a few years, like, it is fun to be downtown all of a sudden. Like, I enjoy just spending my whole day downtown, and I want to be part of that energy. And in terms of sort of getting myself out there, getting my name out there, it's been a slow process. I think there are some obstacles in terms of how to effectively communicate with each other and say, hey, that I'm here. But I also know part of it is simply I just have to continue to exist. I have to continue to make the type of work that I want to make. But yeah, I'm not getting rich right now doing what I'm doing.
Well, and someone had an interesting, I sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
somebody had an interesting point the other day, and he said, I think I was actually watching a different panel, so to compare myself to this, but they said artists will continue to make, like, by not being funded, they're not gonna stop making. So I'm sorry, I was just piggybacking off of what you were saying, because you want to, I mean, as a social role of the artist, you want to make things better.
Yeah. Well, it's like playing to your strengths. Like I did for a while in LA in order to survive. I did like the 9-to-5 job, and it just killed me inside because I wasn't making anything. Like there's something inherent in me that needs to create, and if I ignore that, I struggle. When I embrace that and I dedicate myself to that life, I can. What is it? Actually, I think Adam probably told me this. If you can live like in a little 12-by-12 apartment in the, you know, in Paris or something, making no money, and still be happy making art, then you know you're probably on the right path. Of course, there's many people like I don't want that path
What's it like
whatsoever.
to be Paris?
Well, that's
Yeah.
okay, fine. It could be Grand Forks. I mean,
Right.
you could be living above subways.
Right.
Those are bummer nice.
You know, to talk about trying to get paid, I think having some sort of a minimum amount of money that you should at least take, but I think doing work for free should end. I think if we continue to do work for free, students, if you do work for free, people just keep doing that, everyone's gonna go back to the
Right.
student, and then us professionals will
Can
never
I,
get paid.
on top of that, can I just dispel a myth about exposure? I've been asked about this more than once. Unless you've got a ferocious agent in your corner, exposure here to people who are empathetic or enjoy art is great. But if you're donating to a non-profit event, you do it because you live here. It has nothing to do with the art business or selling it. If you put work out there with the idea that somehow a magic exposure fairy is going to shake it or that magic dust over you, it's a myth.
It's not free advertisement.
There's no such thing as free advertisement. You don't, it only works if you back it up with your own presence. And then you have to actually be deranged about chasing the credit. If you want to commit to a non-profit event or an event that you feel part of, you do it because you live here. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's got nothing to do with the art business at all. And that may sound funny coming from somebody that's contributed a lot, but that's just because of my grandmother. I blame her, but that's what I do. That's just a part of what I am and living here. If I could bake, I would put pies everywhere. But so the exposure stuff, I even tell people and I get serious pitches from people, oh, it'll be great exposure. And I say, don't waste your time with me. I'm either going to donate or I'm not. I believe in what you're doing, or you have somebody in your family that's so sick, I can do a little bit to help, I'm happy to help. It's got nothing to do with art. The vehicle for which I can be generous is art, but that's it. That was for free.
And sorry to go back, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt
Yep.
you, Adam, but sort of, I want to feed a little bit off of what Lindsay was saying. I think, in my opinion, and that this might not be shared, but like, if an artist is doing something for free, it should be their choice. In-kind donation to something that they really believe in.
They should come to them rather than them come to.
Right,
Right.
and it's okay to say no, and I feel like that's where a lot of artists struggle, is like they are afraid to say no because they feel like it might hurt their relationship with the community.
I think the more aggressive you are, the more money you ask for, the more exposure you're going to get, so to speak.
Right.
Because you look like you're more important.
Right.
If you keep going and doing free work, you're not that important and you're just going to be pushed over. So I do think that you should ask for a lot and be rude. I mean, Adam's well known.
On top of what you're saying, is the other question that I have asked for you in a business situation. If somebody comes to say to you, this is a great opportunity, you'll get great exposure for it, and they don't have any money to back up even your material expenses, you have to ask yourself, so what kind of business people are these? And do I want to be associated with that? It does mean you're going to have to be self-reliant and find the money elsewhere, but they weren't going to give you any money anyway. So you have to be very careful about how you do things. I mean, it took me 12 years to undevalue myself, and it's still a daily struggle. So I didn't do it right. But decide what you can afford to do it for and build from there. And it will mean, it's in contracting, if you get every job you bid, you're not bidding right. It's the same with art.
Well, then you back it up with professionalism.
Right.
And the proper forms and legalities, and I think equipping artists with that tool set of knowledge would go a long way. Because when you ask for what you're asking for, and you present yourself to a profession or a professional, they're going to be more inclined to pay what you're asking for. You have the P's and Q's, and they're nice about it.
And even if all artists are crazy, which I don't get defensive about, by the way, we are, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't communicate in a professional manner.
Right.
You should be crazy.
Oh, sorry, speak up.
I just want to say that I think some of us are having a hard time hearing.
Over if you
No.
want.
I have one chair,
You might get mixed.
and there's one empty chair here.
Maybe just speak up a little bit.
And bring some chairs
It's like
on the
me.
chair,
I'm not trying to be upset.
or stand up here.
Thank you. His room along the
Well, I'll
wall.
tell you what, when we say something important, we'll let you know, and we'll yell it.
You know, I did want to mention one thing you had mentioned, I said before, the question. But I wanted to say that getting work from, I know like you talked about U&D looking around, but just having people look to us to get, you know, design work, for us design work. I think they should look to the community for design work. Also, looking at those really large businesses for design, I've seen them all and they don't always have the greatest design work. It's really quick and I think it's better to look for smaller companies because they will really spend the time and effort into creating something that you want. But if you go for those huge mass-produced companies, they're not going to produce what you want. You might think they are, but as Paul Rand said, which is a designer, that community is used to bad design, and so they're going to continue to want that bad design versus wanting something good. So when they see something good, it's different. And I forget the word which was told to me, someone said my stuff was funky. That's what I got, because it was just too creative for them. So I think we have to kind of get the community to understand art as well as to understand designs. I think in art it's somewhat similar.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that, we have a nice variety of people in different mediums or fields. And, I look to Lindsay because she actually teaches a lot of my fellow students. And I see what comes out of there, and it is a little humorous to me, if, I don't mean that in a positive way, that like, you or your students aren't being actually hired within the community. And I actually think this might be a nice segue, because designers have actually come to me more than visual artists in the community, and performers and things like that. But this might be a nice segue to talk about like maybe how, again, this is all about education. We want to turn this conversation into solutions. So this is not all negative, but the whole obstacle of contests. And this doesn't just happen in design, but it happens in visual art as well. And I'll just kind of preface this: when there's a contest, a lot of artists are actually, and designers are all asked to do the same amount of work, and then someone's awarded with something. But if you think about it, all of those artists are actually doing the same amount of work. So really what it looks like, maybe from outside of our community and other communities, because this isn't just community-wide, is that we're cheap, and that the artists are fighting for breadcrumbs. So I'm sorry, I'm so opinionated about it, but I thought I'd kind of like segue into that. If you guys had any, like, I know like some of us haven't talked about it before. Is there anything that you want to add to that, or?
Well, I don't think we should continue with contests. If you see a contest out there, unless they're willing to pay each person, I wouldn't go for it.
By definition, if it's a contest and doesn't have serious prize money on it, it's not a contest.
Even if it does have serious prize money.
Well, that ups the ante a little bit.
Well, as designers, maybe for artists, but for designers, I would say no, unless it's for an award or something through a graphic design corporation. There's certain ones that you are okay.
Right.
But for just a business around town here, unless it's for an organization that you really care about, I would say no, especially if that business.
So my question to the audience is, let's say you enter a contest and you get recognition, you get the logo or whatever. What kind of recognition do you really think you're going to get from it?
Your logo, your name's not on the logo.
No, it's not. If it's a logo, your name's not on it.
Nobody asks who the designer is.
Nobody else. Nobody cares.
But also, like, I also think
You
about,
could buy it.
I also think about like royalties.
Yeah, that's the big story
And this
right
actually
there.
might be a nice time to talk to, oh, there you are. Nico, do you wanna pop up here? Actually, I had run into that in an art exhibit the other night, and I'm sorry to do this, but this might actually, now that we're talking about logos, it might be an interesting time to ask him about it. So he was telling me about something I did not research it as well. So this is Nico Thompson, and he was telling me about something. This is more of like a public service announcement that will kind of interrupt this conversation, and we'll continue.
Just an intermission? Or not?
It's kind of an intermission. He's like raising awareness about an issue that can connect to what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, so basically, long story short, I'm a graphic design technology major as well as a visual arts minor and entrepreneurship minor currently at UND. And up to this point, the university does not want to see any sort of submissions of any kind involving the new Fighting Hawks rebranding and logo and things like that. And as a graphic design student, I find that kind of absurd. they're looking to go to an external marketing and design firm that could cost upwards of $250,000 and potentially even up to $500,000. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the person who designed the Sioux logo only got paid $2,500. So taking some of that stuff into consideration, it's very absurd that they're looking to go to an external source that may not have any sort of connection or personal relation to the university or Grand Forks in general, when we have so many talented artists and designers and all of that sort right here in Grand Forks, marketing students as well. So to not even like hold that open to students or individuals, alumni, it doesn't have to be just students, to submit something, whether it be an idea, a logo in itself, the entire rebranding package that goes along with something like that.
So can I ask a question?
Certainly.
When the university says that they don't want to view anybody else, what is your feeling? What do you want to do?
Well, up to this point, I've just been trying to raise awareness. I've had multiple conversations with design professors, art professors, other people along those lines on campus. I've had conversations with people who are on the board of higher education, many different people that all agree that it should be kept local, especially when our university is in millions of dollars of debt. That's one thing that many people don't even know. So when you're looking to try to, bring in an external firm and spend $500,000 on top of the debt that we're already in, with all this talent right underneath, the finger, right in this community that we have right here, it's just ridiculous that they're looking to this external firm when we have people right here with the talent and the personal connection to the university.
Are there any other designers in the house?
Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Hi.
I mean, why wouldn't you guys, to me, the only word I heard was that the university said they didn't want, which basically means to me, oh, all right, I'm going to give them exactly what they don't want.
I also, that might tie into also like when people ask artists and designers, like, how do we keep the talents, how do we retain the talents? If you don't want us, we're gonna leave.
Well,
To a place that
here's,
makes us want that, like to a place that wants us.
but now, there's one part of me that is, thank you for bringing that to our attention, but there's one part of me that wants to say, well, guess what, I'm going to take it to their doorstep. I'm going to bombard them. I think this is part of what I was trying to say about you have to be prepared to stand up for the way you want to do business. And one of the ways you want to do business, evidently, is when this kind of bullshit goes on. Looking over our shoulder at somebody else that we think can do it better, you fight back. And you put a team together and say, let's hit them hard. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the way I look at it is, there's a potential budget which you will do work that's worth at least $250,000, maybe even $200,000. That's some negotiation. But what you have to turn upside down is their mentality about, oh, we don't have anybody here,
Right.
and that's tricky. But it happens with work.
Right.
And you have to bombard them and get together. And now I would even be harsh. I'm going to be really harsh about this, and no one wants to hear this. I say it to myself every morning just for clarification. If you're not prepared to do that, then you can complain, but only for so long.
Yeah, and I think that the reason I asked Nick, when I talked with him,
Yeah.
is because you're one of the very few people actually going and getting
That's awesome.
people involved
Yeah.
in higher education, and that was really impressive to me. And so maybe after this panel discussion, you can connect with Lindsay, because I feel like she's got a group of designers, and you guys can just kind of all talk together.
Yeah, that was actually part of my plan as well. My first step was just trying to raise awareness,
Right.
because it was a thing that many people didn't even realize. People within my own department, in the graphic design technology department, didn't realize that this was a completely closed off thing, that they were looking towards an external marketing and design firm. So my first step was just try to raise awareness and get the community to know. And then actually my next step was trying to formulate a group of individuals, whether they be current students, art students, fine art, design students, marketing students, maybe even alumni, faculty, anyone who's interested basically, and try to build a team that's wanting or willing to do a group submission rather than try to tackle it as like a handful of individuals, is actually try to go in and do it as a group of 15 or 20 people and sit down and have weekly or bi-weekly meetings and try to hash out this entire rebranding program, because that's what we are in the realm and field for. We're all trying to become trained professionals if we are current students. That's what our ultimate goal is to make a career out of something like this.
And if you wanted to raise awareness, you could even do a show, an exhibition built around raising awareness, different logos that you've come up with and other input. I mean,
Hey, let's have a show.
I mean, I really
Let's have a
think,
show here where people.
I do think it's amazing they chose the fighting horse, because the hawk on the ground is not very good.
You know, you
It's
probably need,
useless unless it's flying.
you probably need a little bit of media coverage, and I would love to start a group. However, the thing you have to keep in mind is if you start the group, you guys might do all this work and then not get paid
Right.
again.
Yep.
Well, that's the difference between making a pitch and then entering a contest.
Right,
You don't get every pitch you make.
you don't,
Right.
right, so you would have to do an RFP and you have to get all that stuff set up, which is a whole huge document on saying how much money we need, all that kind of stuff. So we could do that, but you're gonna want somebody who's a professional, because they're not gonna look at students, but somebody who's can use students. And as a professional, I think that would maybe a little bit get yourself in the door.
Yeah.
But at least it would give awareness
Yeah.
to the issue.
And like I had mentioned earlier, I have had conversations with many different people on campus. Shannon Whitmer, who's the design professor, graphic design technology, she's very backing of it, and she told us that she was willing to aid us in any way, form possible. So trying to make steps. I don't know exactly how to go about it, but
And we can talk about that after. I don't mean to cut you off, but I do think that people are getting a little antsy, so I'm gonna try to
yeah.
ask,
Let's move on.
turning from like our grievances. Thank you so much, Nico. Thank you.
Cheers.
And everyone talk. Then I'm gonna ask like 2 more questions and open it up to the floor for about 5 or 10 minutes tops. That way people can start having their wine and eating food and just, having fun. Now we look to solutions. So what would you suggest? I know we covered a lot of bases, but for possible solutions to these obstacles that we
Good
have.
Lord.
What was that?
You didn't say that. Was that on the second page?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, like Lindsay said earlier, like education both ways. I'm doing workshops on what physical theater is, what clown is. A lot of people don't even have any experience with that in this town. And so my job is to, hey, this is what it is. This is what I'm trying to do. If you want to come, learn a bit about physical theater, I'm doing a workshop right in this space December 5th. Plug. And
I was gonna mention that later.
Yeah, well-
Don't think I forgot about it.
and also, like, an example of just what we just witnessed right now is strong mentorship. People who have more experience telling someone who's newer in the field, hey, here's some good ideas. This is a great way to approach the situation. Mentorship for me in Los Angeles was the only reason I survived as an artist in that town. And I learned most from that. Whether it was good advice, bad advice, whatever, they got me out there doing things. And so I think mentorship and education, they go hand in hand. I think that really is, for me, a strong solution.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
To mentorship, I think getting to students early in their art career, like in high school, if we can get students to think in a business-oriented direction right off the bat before they get conned into contests or building their reputation for 30 years and not getting paid, if we can get them.
Talking about me.
Not
You have a reputation, don't you?
But like just, like getting a student art show and walking them through that process as if they were a college student and treating them like an adult right off the bat, I think we underestimate our young people.
Absolutely, I agree. I probably should be like less
We'll talk about
opinionated
that
taking
later.
sides, but,
You can
okay.
be up here, you can have my spot.
I think mentors are great. I think everyone would need a mentor. And I think having that option, having like a panel, whoever you choose, of mentors that you can go to and talk to, I think that would be a great idea. I think having shows and being somewhat picky about what kind of artwork goes inside, just so we can look really good as a whole. And then you can also have other types of shows too, but just kind of maybe even having your one event that promotes the guild, or I don't know if it's gonna be more than one, but that could maybe be help. I think what you're doing right now is a start, and it's a great start.
Yeah, use your resources. If any of you are visual artists or whatever kind of artist or designer and you don't use a space like this within the next year, that's your fault.
Because it is open to all of you.
You know, half the time as a creative person, we're on social probation, so you're only as good as your last event or your last stupid thing you did. But you get to determine how you have a relationship with the city or the place you live. So you have to be active in that and work hard to be part of shows. I sell fairly reasonably now, but it took me 6 or 7 years of highly experimental shows, all kinds of spaces to be involved with. And don't make the mistake that I made earlier on, which was doing too much for too little money. I don't regret it, but it's a business pattern I've had to readdress. You should learn to fill out a self-employed tax return and should understand what expenses really are. And you should always try and put a little bit of money to one side for just something, you know, emergencies or a trip or an event. And you should know more about grants within a year than I do. It's out there. There is money and opportunity out there. The community itself right now is at a very interesting point. The city is going to swell in size. There is capital here, but you have to learn to ask for it. And it starts really simply. People are often embarrassed about selling work to their friends, parents, and family. Get over it. There's companies that spend a fortune trying to create that commercial myth that they're part of your family. Your family structure, whether it's friends and family, people you do business with, those are the people that are part of your network. You just don't think they are. I've sold pieces of work at the hardware store to people because I'm not frightened to ask. The good news is you're not a vacuum cleaner salesperson. And if you bring creativity into people's houses, they will accept it. And 9 times out of 10, they're happy to see it. A lot of people are just too busy to have the time to come and see your show sometimes, but you can take the show to them. I have actually reprimanded somebody yesterday. They had a big wedding, and not one of my paintings was at their wedding. My wife says you're a self-centered, egocentric megalomaniac, and I said, yes, you're totally right. I said, what the hell do you think puts chocolate milk in the fridge? I took it as a compliment, of course, but so you use your resources and don't be frightened of it, because if you're frightened of it, remember, you've got to learn to walk into a boardroom, a council meeting, a business meeting, a panel group, and make the same pitch. The way I feel right now is really quite antagonistic to some people I have to deal with, because I can't believe I have to explain why this stuff is important. I don't get it. They're like, why? When was it not ever important? Creativity is essential to healthy economics, business, healthy children. If you want interesting children and don't want them to grow up to be boring morons, you know, put interesting art on the wall. It's free. I mean, you know, a kid could, well, look at that googly-eyed painting over there. If you had a kid could spend hours looking at that. And that's what you want. The adult version of that is artistic and creative endeavor. It forces people to deal with things which we could do better. And social engagement is the one weapon that you have, and you can recreate that online. But use your resources. And by the way, you should know, if you are creative, the rest of society has every right to hate you. you have a level of engagement in your life a lot of people don't have. You have the chance to go to things like this, where there's free wine and cheese and food and whatever, look at nice art. You have things that other people don't have. They're gonna hate you, you know? And we live in a passive-aggressive place, so it won't come out straight, you know, whatever. But what I'm saying is, there are some advantages to the life, but the business part is you have to know it, otherwise you won't make it.
You know, I think if we get together as a community and as a group, we can fight more. And instead of competing with each other, we should probably,
Work together.
yes.
Showcase each other. I mean,
Right.
everybody has a unique brand on their
Right.
kind of art. No one can reproduce that.
And
And rather than compete with each other, we could.
And I think that a lot of it is like, maybe, you know, well, it might seem like we're harping on, you know, maybe it might seem a little negative. Actually, I think a lot of artists have always been socially engaged and wanting to work alongside their city or other, like, you know, organizations or groups, but, you know, there's a certain point when we need to pay our own bills, and we're not seeing, you know, I would never ask someone to build my deck and then try to get a discount from it, or ask them to do it for free. So that's kind of like, you know, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add?
And just something here, who wants to do a show in the next year? Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
So one of the things we've achieved tonight is that a bunch of people here wanted to do a show. This space is effective and open. So you then have somebody with a calendar. If you leave here tonight and don't talk to her about the calendar, that's your decision. And you are beholden to that decision. Sometimes you have to make yourself say, I'm going to do a show. It's about social engagement, whatever that English guy said, blah, blah, blah. You have to ask. And you'll be quite surprised, there is an element of life here where people say, you know, I still know people my own age, like, oh, I didn't know if I want to put my work on display. I'm like, I'm 53, I'm almost dead. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm more closer to death than I am life, and you'll ask me whether you still want to have a show. I'm like, what the hell? You know, it's all like people say, I want one of your pieces, and I particularly love it. I said, I've been here since 1987. If you don't have one of my pieces by now, you just don't want one. It's okay. There's other people. So that's my gift to you, is that you have a space. So you have to learn to own the right to be in it. And by the way, just so you know what you're dealing with as far as I'm concerned, if you don't ask, I'm quite capable, this is the evil twin, I'm quite capable of filling it. And people, I want to see your work everywhere, like it's a happy accident. Anyway, yes, done, sorry.
Okay, so are we, I was gonna have an open, like, questionnaire here, like, but I think that it's a small enough, it's a pretty good turnout. We got people standing in the back, but it was small enough turnout where if you guys have questions for any of us.
Yes, how come we're all sitting here while you got us trapped here?
We'll make
Anybody?
Let's take like 2 or 3 questions. I know people are kind of getting antsy and standing in the back, so, and then otherwise you guys are more than welcome to talk to us.
Come on, Matt, I know you've got a question.
What?
What?
Okay.
What's your favorite color? Blue.
You're right.
Thank you.
So I have a,
Sure, yes.
in terms of the Sioux logo, I think regardless of the fact that the university may be broke, you should be excited at the fact that they want to pay someone $250,000 to build
Right.
a logo.
Oh, no, they're not doing it locally though.
I understand
That's-
that. I understand that.
Yeah.
They're seeking an RFP
Right.
250,
To-
that's cheap. They paid
to
millions of dollars
whoever it is going to, right?
So in other words, there's
So
a
they're
bunch-
seeking an artist to do the logo, and so you guys should be excited for that.
Right.
And because they're a university and because they're a public organization and a business, they do have to put out an RFP for this. And so if you join together,
Define what an RFP is.
request for proposal.
Okay.
If you join together and you submit for that RFP, because it will be public, there is potential that you could actually have a local artist
Fantastic.
be a part of this whole thing.
Thank you, Jeff.
There's one at the back there, yeah.
So I'm more concerned about this from the government side. What could the state legislature be doing, or even local city, to encourage art? If you had 3 places in Grand Forks where you could put art, where would it be?
Lord.
Downtown?
Are there any places left? Oh, God. I don't know. Well, I want one on the river. I want a big floating sculpture on the river. I want one on top of my house. My wife won't let me do it. And now that they've put LED lighting on the bridge, I kind of don't want to put one on the Salty Bridge anymore, but I do want one. I do think it would be nice to have some lasers shooting off the old bridge. The railway, the old railway pedestrian bridge.
I think downtown is a great location to put art. It's very cultural down here, and I think that's the best spot. Can't think of another type of cultural area.
You sound like you have an idea.
Yeah.
No, the person that asked the question. It sounded like you had an idea of where you wanted some work to go.
I mean, I don't really have that great of an idea, I just feel that we need it.
Oh, yeah. that's-
I don't know where to put it, because I'm not really downtown as often.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, I don't know, can you?
May I say something?
Yes.
Okay, so my general feeling is that, you know, artists aren't exactly brought to the table
Yep.
from the city.
Right.
Even though the city is currently working on a $500,000 project
Right.
to do that, I don't think that they've done like a sufficient job to actually bring artists to the table
Yeah.
in terms of like what they think should go in certain places, or even the public in general. I don't think that they've even advertised broadly enough at all, because I don't know about any. Like, I just read about what happened in the paper today, how they have $600,000 to pay for something that I don't know what that is, but I
Well,
just don't think there's enough transparency.
No, yes and no, right? I mean, to a certain extent, as artists, when someone says $600,000, we tend to think in terms of a suitcase of cash lying around. So, yeah, well, I do anyway. So how that gets appropriated, I'm not sure. To be fair to the city, I understand we have a representative here tonight, but to be fair to the city, I will say this. We're getting closer that they're beginning to realize that creative people need to be at the table if this is going to remain a creative activity. I don't know how, in the end, we actually sit physically at the table. As I said before, to a certain extent, artists and creative people, to a certain extent, want social probation. But I do know if we keep knocking at the door, there's only so many times you can say no. And doing things like this elevates professional acceptance. I don't think it's something, to be honest with you, and I'm saying it's my own personal experience, I don't think it's something that happens, it may not even happen in my lifetime. But ultimately, if an economic or a social structure is going to survive, you're going to need creative people in the process.
And in response to that, I feel like that's kind of like why we're having this conversation,
Right.
is because in like my feeling and other artists' feelings were that there's a lot going on right now. We're growing as a community. I moved here in 2012, and there was actually not a lot going on. And there was a lot of ideas, but people weren't doing them. And now they are. And there's a lot of creative, artistic things happening, but why aren't the artists part of those decisions? So,
I mean, I think the trick is to say what you're saying. I totally agree with what you're saying, Matt, but we have to learn to say it in a way where it's just not perceived
Oh, I'm sorry.
as totally negative.
I'm not trying to be totally negative.
No, I know you're not.
no.
All I'm just saying is that, like, as far as I know, I haven't seen any flyers or any materials to tell me about what's going on. And that's all I'm saying, is that, like, I don't hear about what the city is doing through any,
To advocate for
like, through
artists,
the mediums
yeah.
that I like
Right.
gain information from, which is
Right.
not generally the newspaper.
Yeah, to advocate for artists, right?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a personal question. I'm kidding, I'm not going to ask you a personal question.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, you just said something really interesting. So how do you look at the news?
Whatever I get on social media, whether it's like Twitter,
Okay,
Facebook,
so
whatever.
you can ask Pete, he's right there.
It's Pete.
Yeah.
Like, you can ask him. Pete, that would be, Pete, that would be really interesting, because essentially, his generation, I love it. His generation is who is going to be more part of the process than I will ever be. So that, you guys need to talk.
Okay, I'm gonna actually wrap it up right now.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I know there's a couple panelists and need to get home and do stuff. Oh, I'm sorry, one more, and
Well,
then,
you might want to make the announcement that on December 14th, at the Herald Community Room, the Forecast for Public Art, they're going to present their master plan.
Is that
For-
right?
That was in
That
the-
was- that was in the paper today.
And more information will be coming out,
Right.
you know, at that point. And that would be a really good thing for people to go to.
So for all you
And I
people,
also want, can I also say one more thing?
they also still owe me $500, so.
Oh, well, the other thing is that I really commend you for getting this together.
Yeah.
Because I think the individual artists in this town have been in the woodwork and not having much ability because there's not a lot of places to show their work or gather or organize. And that is really important. And I love this space. This space is so fantastic, and being downtown is so great. And I can imagine this having the most incredible art openings. You know, if anybody who was at TAG on Friday night and all the people that were there and all the art that they sell shows that it's possible in this, in the city.
Right,
But
there's an incline.
they need to have a place to go to buy it. But can you imagine this place? Well, it's already pretty full, but it could be even fuller with people with checkbooks.
Thank you so much. And-
so for all you people here, your first boring meeting and level of engagement meeting is December 14th. And you should make yourself go there, because it's something that, if it goes right, this public arts, you guys get to inherit. I mean, that is part of what you can do in the future. Like I said, I'm designing my tombstone tonight, so that's really not relevant to me, but it's relevant to you, and you need to own it, right? And you've got green hair, so I'll know if you're there or not.
Okay, and also, like, again, here's my, like, last plug. The Guild has some very, very, very exciting, cutting edge,
Nice.
contemporary and, like, crazy stuff going on in the future. I haven't put it online, but over here behind Adam's head, there's like a little smartphone thing. Below is a Facebook thing, where you can actually, like, eventually see what's going on. I'll probably post up within the next week or two. But also, we're gonna, like, that's how you connect with us if you want to have an event here, or if you want to be part of the show. And a lot of, like, our funding will go to something like putting a white wall here, or, you know, turning on the lights, getting some gallery lighting, stuff like that. So thank you, everyone. Feel free, there's wine in the back, and soda and water, and then there's also food in the front. And if everybody could give a round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much for coming out. If anybody has any questions for us, or if you guys just want to chat amongst yourselves, please feel free to. We're open. And we have live music happening as well.